Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nic McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Mud Myron.
Holla, holla! I got on my Teddy Long head wrap today because I'm ice cold. It's freezing down here. Cat Williams react. Sorry, I was trying to get us some YouTube tags in here, Nick, because that's all I see on YouTube. YouTube, Cat Williams, react to Cat Williams throwback. Holla.
Yeah, I don't know how many, because look, people are listening. That's all that matters. People are watching. People are listening. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yes, folks, guess what, Myron?
What?
If you do like the show, you can go behind the paywall and you can sign up over on youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, or at Tapped Out Pod's the handle. And of course, patreon.com/Tapped Out Pod. We get stuff early. You get it behind the paywall. There's some exclusive stuff. We released that special last week. We had the Georgia Wrestling, the award special that we did. That was behind the paywall for, just under a week. And then we released it out to the public after that. I honestly was going to keep it behind the paywall, but such demand. We had a lot of people message us and reaching out to us, wanting it out on the public. So I went ahead and released it. And I actually wasn't even going to release it on the podcast feed and ended up doing that too. But look, we listen to the members there, especially on Patreon and on YouTube. You can become a member, all that good stuff over there. And look, I appreciate the new people that signed up last week. We had a few people jump in there. They wanted to get that award special and they didn't want to wait for it. So kudos, and we appreciate you. You know who you are. And we appreciate all the support. Look, speaking of what, go ahead.
Did you watch any of that Cat Williams interview, Nick?
No.
Man, Shannon Sharp is that show he's got.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good. I do like Shannon Sharp.
I didn't realize how good he was. And that little show he's got there, he sits in those comfortable recliners in front of the fire with cognac. Man, we got to get us something like that. We got to get
to that format. You want to start doing drinks with Nick and Mike? We're going to have to record at night, not during the day.
We have to get us a nice fire.
I didn't think you could drink anymore.
I don't drink anymore, so that's why I would be there. I would be the
get you some O'Douls.
I ain't drinking no damn. Look, if I'm drinking beer, it's gonna have alcohol, so I ain't drinking nothing beer. I'll give you some Diet Cokes and sit up in there. But man, Cat Williams had some. You
could put some Diet Cokes in there and say it's Jack and Coke.
Yeah, he had some. Now we have some insider information, but we ain't gonna share it. But what kind of episode do we have today?
Listen, we are going to be fan interactive today. We told you, look, we're going to try to at least maybe once a month do these mailbag episodes where people send in questions and things like that. So we had a couple that we got from last week, and then some we got this week. So I wanted to go ahead and get them out there. So look, we like these, we really do. So keep sending them in. At Tapped Out Pod is the social media stuff, and of course tappedoutpod@gmail.com is the email. Send those questions in, and we greatly appreciate it. Send them from anywhere and everywhere. We'll answer whatever, type of questions you got. I think I'm on the backside of this sickness thing. I think I'm trying to get a little better. It's still cloudy in my head here a little bit. And, my voice, doesn't have a long window, as we found out.
So I will answer the question. I will ask the questions. I will stick my hands in the bag because my fingers are freezing. So I'm going to stick them down in the bag, try to warm them up. And let's sing, "What's in the bag? What's in the bag?" And
we need to get you like a little envelope, like a thing where you could pull out envelopes and pretend you're reading them. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I've done that before, but I've got everything on a little screen here. You've not seen these questions. They've been sent directly to me, and we sent them this morning. I wrote over them, and this is a special question. It comes from Battle Creek, Michigan. Isn't that where they made cereal?
I know that's where they made Rob Van Dam, I think.
Oh, maybe so. He smoked a lot of cereal. Tyler from Battle Creek, Michigan wants to know, do you think AI can play a role in wrestling? Artificial intelligence.
Yes. I will say yes. And by the way, this had to come from, I think this was brought up last week on one of 83 Weeks, maybe, Strictly Business. I listened to both, so it was on one of the two, then they're kind of blurred together as the sickness thing in my head. So I do think, yes, it does have a role. I think couple things. One, I think it needs to be used correctly and used, what's the word I'm looking for, Myron, where it's like, it's got to be used not just when I mean correctly, I think also cautiously. Like, I know there was a website, Rings, and I don't want to mess it up, so I apologize in advance. It was like Ringside News or the Ringsider or something like that. They did an experiment where they did they asked basically AI to write a storyline for Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. The creepy thing was this thing put out a 3-act structure, like story, like, now this is what I mean by used correctly and used cautiously. That's not your final draft. Like, you're going to take that. I always call that's your skeleton of your story, and you're going to flesh it out. You're going to make details and plug. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, you're going to add depth to it. Now, I will say this: some controversy came out about AI. AEW is being accused of using AI to generate art for T-shirts. Specifically, there was like a Kenny Omega shirt that was like a Terminator like look kind of thing, half and half or whatever, and some people are going like, this is clearly AI generated art, and they're not using. You kind of can. That's the messed up part. I've doodled in it enough that you kind of can tell. Not always, but you kind of can. But here's the pushback. I understand, like, look, and I appreciate, like I do, like, artists who do music and do art and, push it. There's a pushback on it. But my thing is, if you are a wrestler and you're not using it to your advantage, why? I think more people could have better shirts. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, they should pay a art designer to make them a shirt. I'm not disagreeing with that. But what if they don't have the money to? And they make a shirt through AI, and then they sell a bunch of shirts, and then they hire an art designer to make them more shirts.
Well, hold on. So we sell shirts.
Yeah. It's coming.
Can you AI design us a shirt?
Mm-hmm. Get them at Pro Wrestling Tees when they're available. But go ahead, yes.
AI is not going to replace like a booker, is it? I mean, AI can write a storyline. AI can't write a book, though, right?
It actually can. But I would follow the same premise, by the way. I would say, like, if an author had AI generate them a story, I think the writer then takes that framework and then fleshes it out, edits, proofreads it, edits it, tweaks it, might go, I don't really like this, and they edit. To me, it's about using the framework of what it gives you and doing what you do with that, if that makes sense. It just kind of does a lot of the tedious steps of some of the early parts coming on. I don't know. I get it, it's controversial. But
wasn't it to stop you from generating a reader? Or to stop you AI from generating somebody to watch this wrestling show?
Oh, I don't know. I'll go ahead and tell you, look, you want the full disclosure here? I wrote a kid's book with AI. It was a super baby story. And yes, by the way, it did sell some copies. Oh, and by the way, I also created my wife is a school teacher, and I had it generate a lesson plan because she said it couldn't be done. And so out of spite, I did it. And by the way, I sold on there's a teacher pay teacher website. I sold some of those. So again, just properly used, I think it's a tool that you can use, but you got to make some tweaks to it. Typically. But the art? No. I've done some pretty good ones. I mean, I've shared them with some people. And look, by the way, I'm not going to say where, but there's a shirt out there that I've seen that is an AI generated art that I made and sent to somebody.
Now, what about all those comic books behind you? Are they going to AI generate comic books?
Oh, that I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other, I've done things where I've created characters. Like I would tell it to create like merge Wolverine and Green Lantern, and it does it. I mean, it can make an art of that character. Kind of my point. Like if it's like, hey, I want to do this, and then you create that character, and you're like, oh, I can draw this, and then you use that character, blah, 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 whatever. Like that's what I talk about using it. Look, I understand, like, look, people that are creative, there's lots of pushback and controversy with it. I always tell people, I'm not asking you to replace anybody. I'm asking you to like use the tool. And by the way, I'm talking to those people to use AI as a tool to help make their job easier. Maybe is the right word. But who knows? Yes, it does have a role in wrestling. I think it's just got to be used, sparingly and cautiously and
It's like that show they used to have on TV with the robots fought. Wasn't that on? What channel was that on? Science Fiction Channel or something, where the robots fought each other. Remember
that? There's so many of them. I'm waiting for you to narrow it down a little bit.
I don't remember things very well. Now you know that. They had like razor blades, not razor blades, but saw blades and stuff on the thing.
BattleBots.
BattleBots, yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna have BattleBot wrestlers. Yeah. AI generate Kevin Sullivan. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway.
Okay. Next question from our deep sack here. Josh from Homestead, Florida. I believe there's a racetrack down there, isn't there? Homestead, Florida.
Maybe.
Do you think we are subtly seeing more changes as Triple H continues to solidify his place in the role as head of creative?
100%.
I think he is. I think everything is changing for the better. Why would you think so, Nick?
I think you see his fingerprint more than anything because we're seeing teams like, look, Testament, Triple H guys. DIY back together, Triple H. The Triple H guys from NXT. Pete Dunne dropping Butch, going back to Pete Dunne. Let's be blunt. Let's just faction. Now, I'm not saying Vince clearly was a faction guy at one point because the Attitude Era was filled with factions. But I also think they went away from that in general. But I think Triple H, that's the era he reached he spun out of and became a star. I think he understands the concept of put a bunch of guys together, try to make them hot, and then a guy or two spins out of those factions as a star. And that's
domination. DX. You saw all those people came out of that. You saw how that nurtured people. I can't see this whole, what do you call them, testament? Akam and Razor being back.
Look, they're great muscle for Cross, who doesn't really need muscle, but it's a great muscle team for him to back him. And look, I think it gives Cross depth.
Cross needed something. I mean, I don't know where they've missed with Cross.
I don't understand it because I'm a huge, when he was Killer Cross out on the Indies, dude, I was all in.
Yeah.
It baffled me. Even his NXT run was good.
Yeah.
And then it's when he hit the roster, and like I know a lot of people like to go to the gimmick, the outfit and all that. I understand that. Still, I still don't get it because even when he came back and he wasn't that gimmick, it wasn't working for him. I just think, but that's also, by the way, I think that's Triple H's patience over Vince's shorter leash. That's another sign that you're seeing some of those changes.
Well, I mean, I look forward to it because I was always happy with Triple H. I was a huge Triple H guy. I love Triple H. The only time I ever got upset with Triple H was that match where he continued to flail on Foley with the steel chair. I got upset with Triple H. That was the only time. I love Triple H. I thought, and knowing he's in charge makes me feel better. He just seems like it's in good hands now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, even like from the production things, like now it's coming out, like a lot of this behind the, backstage of the vignettes and the production stuff. Jeremy Borash is kind of leading that team. And we heard 2 years ago plus, I mean, Triple H was building, like when JB came over, like Triple H kind of hand selected him. He liked him down in NXT and kind of built this team around him. And apparently now the story is he was kind of like bringing them along to be the successor to when the Kevin Dunn era ended. And now we're seeing some of that stuff coming to fruition, which again shows Triple H, no pun intended, playing the long game and not, in the short term. He knew this day was coming at some point, I'm sure, and was kind of trying to set the table,
It's my guys. I'm going to make my guys. I'm going to build them. I'm going to put them in places where they're going to be able to excel. And then when I need them, they're going to be ready to go. The gimmicks are there. They're becoming stronger. You said that Jeremy Barash might be behind this whole R-Truth thing, which I think this is my R-Truth's greatest gimmick of all time. Tom and Nick Mysterio, Judgment Day and R-Truth. The Miz and him working together. So I am laughing my ass off. I am so happy watching wrestling. Not like a oh, I'm happy to watch wrestling. I'm giggling and looking forward to see what R-Truth does again. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's funny to me. And also he's incredibly talented on top of that. Getting to see him in the ring again is enjoyable. And Jeremy Barash behind that, I love it. I love it. I love getting to see things like that. So I feel good now. I really feel strongly. I don't know if I felt this strongly about what the WWE did since I was dressing up like Bubba Ray Dudley and running around at shows.
To wrap the question up, I want to ask you a question. Do you think we're seeing the benefits? And I'm going to have to throw some disclaimer probably at the end of the question. Vince, as head of creative, was also trying to handle all of the business stuff. Now we kind of have Nick Khan over here like, I got you on the business stuff, don't worry. Triple H is involved. Here's your disclaimer. I'm sure he's involved some, but it's clearly not his focus as divided as Vince's was between business and creative. Triple H can focus on creative, other things obviously, but I think he's more focused on creative than Vince ever was on just creative.
Yeah, and he's got other guys to handle creative too. He's got other guys to handle this, other guys to do this. He's brought in teams. He's not just holding everything in the palm of his hand like Vince did. He's spinning things off. He doesn't have to be in charge of everything. I think it's beautiful. I think it's the way businesses are typically ran out in the big world. I think having a smart man like Nick Khan in there to run it like any other business. Now we got to realize Vince ran it like a company, like a family business.
Well, what I'm saying is like he ran it like a business, like he did. Yeah. But my problem with is, by the way, I may come back to this later. That one man trying to run the business, run creative, run look, I don't care if you only sleep 3 hours a day. You're spread thin across all those things. If Triple H is, like, hey, I get to be more focused on just creative and the direction of the company. Yeah, he's got creative teams and stuff like, no shit. But at the same time, if that's his focus, he's more focused on just that one thing.
The product gets better. Then you got business people handling the business stuff. The business gets better. I think everybody can do their job to the best of their abilities. Yeah, Vince was something special. You'll never see another Vince McMahon. That's just all there is to it. Yeah. You'll never see another. You can try to recreate Vince McMahon, and I don't think you should, because like any other great genius like Vince McMahon, there were all these horrible problems behind him. So Vince did what he did, and I like where they're going right now. So I don't see any reason to change it. Yeah. But I'm super stoked about everything. AEW is there too. I think they'll benefit from watching this. And as Tony Khan looks and sees this stuff, maybe he can pick up on some of this too. Maybe he had a guy. He had a guy like QT Marshall that he should have trusted with more stuff. And now he's gone.
Yeah.
If he could build a team, maybe he could be in this level of success too. That's my take on it.
Build a team, correct.
Build a team. And our next question, Thomas from Cleveland, Tennessee. I've heard of Cleveland, Tennessee. I don't know if I've ever been there before, Nick. He asks, do you guys think there is any real chance MJF leaves AEW and goes to WWE? Now, this question has been asked of me countless times, Nick, and I want to hear your opinion on it.
This question it's probably one of the most asked questions right now. I know he was, let me rephrase, he wasn't posting pictures from their vacation. His girlfriend was posting pictures from their vacation on social media. I think it depends. I'm gonna at the end. I'll tell you what I think's gonna happen. It's just what I think. But I'm gonna tell you the thought process that I do agree with. If he wants to be in television, movies, etc., he wants to be like a global star. Yeah, there were air quotes thrown there.
What was major?
Look, you're gonna
motion pictures and television.
You're gonna go work for WWE because you're that way. You'll have the Endeavor, agency behind you. Makes total sense. That's the easy answer, right? I know some people think it like, hey, well, what about I want to make the most money? I honestly think, because here's the thing. WWE's in the realm now. They clearly have to worry about money. They don't have an unlimited budget. So therefore, could he make more with WWE? Maybe. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Tony Khan could just randomly decide he's the guy I'm going to target, that I'm going to keep, and whatever he asks me for, I'm going to pay him. I'll match the offer WWE offers. So when it comes to just money, some people think the answer is easy. I don't think so. And by the way, intelligently, I think he should throw all that money at him. But that's either here nor there. I think the one that may be the wild card is, Myron, off the top of your head, who are the main event guys in WWE right now?
Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. That's the biggest guy they got.
No. Cody. I'm talking all of the guys that are in the main event picture right now.
Cody, Randy Orton. They've brought LA Knight in.
Come on, give me the easy six.
I hear voices in my head.
You've already said him.
I still hear voices in my head. Sorry.
Yeah. Punk. They've got Drew McIntyre in the mix now.
Drew McIntyre's in the mix now.
You see, like I'm already at 8 on my hand.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten into some of the other, like
AJ Styles. We forgot he's in the
AJ Styles is in the 4-way for the title. He's easily put. So my point being, they're top heavy as hell in WWE.
Yeah.
They've got so if you're MJF, kinda, but there's only 2 belts, like 2 top belts for if you're going for the main event level guys. If you end up with 10 guys, I can give you 10 like that are what people consider them to be main event guys right now. So my argument to that is, if you're MJF and you're sitting there, are you not asking yourself this? If I go over there, I got to compete with those 10 guys to get into the main event spots. If I stay here, with all due respect to Samoa Joe and all the above, Adam Cole, blah, 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 MJF will be the guy in AEW. He will be the main event guy. No matter what storyline is in, he will be. Does that make sense? He will be the guy. So if he wants to be a wrestler and he wants to be the focal point of the company, AEW is the home. And I think, in my opinion, I think that's what he does. I think he stays.
Well, you got a lot of situations here. You got a lot of chemistry you got to worry about. If you drop all your money into him, you remember you have egos behind this. You have Kenny Omega's got to come back. You've got the Bucks that are got to come back. Those guys are been focal points of the company since day one. MJF was already made his Hollywood debut.
Question. AEW's private. We have no idea what any of their contracts are. We've heard rumors, but nobody knows anything.
No, we don't know. We don't know. But
why do you think the other wrestlers do?
I think it's going to be like, oh, you do this, you do this. I heard this, I heard that. I don't know. It could be like high school. My thing is, MJF got that taste in that whole Hollywood thing with the Von Erich movie, but he got to see John Cena and Liv Morgan on the red carpet. Did he like that? Does he know where he can get more of that? WWE would have put him in a bigger spot in that movie. WWE would have put him in a movie all his own. WWE could.
My pushback to that is, if he was into WWE, he wouldn't have been in that movie. There wasn't one WWE guy in that movie. He really wasn't in it. He was in it for like a hiccup. He had a role in it, but he was just in it for a hiccup.
But he got a taste of it. The stardom. He got a taste of the big time.
Does MJ? I think it boils down to what you're saying. I think the pushback is: do you think MJF wants to be a movie star, or do you think he wants to be the best wrestler on the planet?
Who the hell wants to be the best wrestler on the planet?
Daniel Bryan, Okada. There are guys that want that, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. There are guys on the indies that's their dream. They want to be known as the best wrestler on the planet. No problem. But the question then begs to differ of, I want to make the most money I can in wrestling, no matter what I'm asked to do. Some people, like, really simple, I'll be R-Truth. I'll make a ton of money for a long period of time, and yes, I will be the butt of the jokes. I'll be the comedian. I'll be the blah, blah, whatever my role is.
One of my biggest heroes in wrestling is The Miz. Okay? The Miz has been consistently employed. The Miz has done whatever he was needed of for so long. I know they released Dolph Ziggler, and that's a topic for later on. But he was a company man forever. And The Miz has been a company man forever.
And both of those guys made a ton of money over the years being company people.
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Anyway,
and neither, egos and positioning, I guess.
It all comes down to what you're looking for, whether it's you want to be movie star, you want to be this, you want to be a global star, or do you want to make money? And Myron,
yes,
look, we're still hot in the playoffs, and if you're still looking to make some money, always, and I mean always, on a weekly basis, a great way to make money is with our friends over at Prize Picks.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words, Prize Picks. It's so easy. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the numbers. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
That's right, man. Sign up over on Prize Picks, either on the website or on the app. I prefer the app. It's super easy to do on the fly while you're out and about. But, hey, check them out. Promo codes in the show notes or whatever. Sign up, man. Check our friends out. Support the show with our friends over at Prize Picks.
Did you see the snow at that stadium during the playoffs?
Of course I did.
Do you think there's any way in hell I'd have gone to that?
That's not that game. So the Kansas City Dolphins game, 15 people were taken out due to frostbite to the hospital. That was the game where it was like negative 20 something degree wind chill. The Buffalo game wasn't as cold. There was just a lot more snow, which is why that game got pushed.
Yeah, I got no. Mm-mm. I love my Georgia Bulldogs, but I love this chair I'm in too. It's I got a heating pad behind me. I got on all this warm clothes. No, I'm not going to go watch football like that. I wouldn't go anywhere for that kind of weather. Do you feel strongly enough about anything to go do that?
No, not that weather.
Have you got shorts on right now?
I do.
Okay. You have a t-shirt on also.
Yeah.
And you're not capable of getting cold. I've seen you wear
It is a balmy 68 degrees here in the podcast studios.
Yeah, but I know also 68 degrees for you is burning hot.
I'm comfortable right now.
You're probably about to start sweating. Like 50 degrees for you is still comfortable.
I do like it in the mid 50s. You're correct.
Yes.
So,
anyway. you would break out if it was 40 with a wind chill. You might break out a
I brought a pullover on the other day.
Yeah, pullover.
Yeah, I went to the store and I had to put a pullover.
I've never seen you wear pants except in an official capacity.
Yeah, usually that's the case. So anyway,
I got sweatpants, t-shirt, sweatshirt, jacket, and a hat. I took my gloves off so I wouldn't be weird when I was presenting. But to present the next question is from Stuart from Georgetown, Texas, where I assume it's hot. I would hope it would be hot.
No, I think it snowed there. I don't know.
With snow.
Yeah.
It's 20 degrees here. Why do you think AEW is losing steam? Well, if I had any steam, I would be sitting on top of it. But do you think, Nick, AEW is losing steam? Are they hot? When you're hot, you're hot.
So I had this conversation with a wrestler last night. We were messaging back and forth, and I kind of, and they said something to the effect of AEW being down, not up, whatever. And my response was, I think they are who they've always been. And we've had this conversation. I can't remember if it was on the show or not, but I've had this conversation with you before. I think what happened was they are still exactly who and what they've been for the last 4 years. But when they started, they were being compared to a down WWE. People were complaining about the creative in WWE. They were complaining about everything, right? So they were this hot alternative and everybody jumped on board. Problem is now you're being compared to an extremely hot, and the creative is being, praised in WWE. So even if you're the same, you heard the old, like, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. That's where they are right now.
Yes.
I don't think they're any worse. I don't think they're any better. I just think they're just, because they're the same, they're being compared to somebody who got their shit together and got better.
That's logical.
Or two, there's another part of me that says, as a psychological Nick's coming out, we love as a society to build things up only to tear them down. Are they in the cycle of that they were built up for 3.5, 4 years, and then we just, started chipping away at them and tearing them down?
Oh, like the new toy. So they were the new toy, and as long as they were shiny, we were happy. As long as they were the newest thing and they had the newest stuff. But when we got tired of them, we went back to our old comfortable shoes, our nice little, place that we always had.
Well, I think because this was brought up on a podcast, by the way, and I thought it was I've never thought of this, and so I'm full crediting Conrad Thompson with this statement. He compared something, and I went and pulled the dates up because I was just curious. He compared WCW to AEW. And when he meant WCW, his window was like the Eric Bischoff era, like Eric took over, but then he was like more specifically the launch of Nitro, because that was the beginning of them being hot. So he's essentially put the clock at Dynamite being launched and Nitro kind of being launched. Nitro launched,
or Thunder?
Nitro launched on September 4th, 1995. Thunder would come years later.
Okay. Now I'm following. Okay.
Now, even though Nitro ran through March 2001, everybody's fully aware the wheels came off of this thing in 99. So you start looking at a calendar and going September of 95 to somewhere in 99. We call it mid 99 is what I would call it. 4 years. Dynamite launched October 2019, somewhere mid to late 2023. This is when the buzz became, hey, they're losing steam, their tickets are falling off, blah blah blah. 4 years. When they say wrestling is cyclical, my question or my pushback is are fans cyclical? The only company that's built up enough equity for us to completely crush seems to be the WWE. Because think about it, even TNA has had their ups and they built up, they had their fun. We built them up to a certain point on Spike, and then the collapse, they lost Spike and everything started going down. Look, we love and we will have a conversation about TNA. But the only reason, in my opinion, they survived was because Anthem purchased them. And they needed them for their network on Access, and that's why they survived. Otherwise, I think they were done. So they're the exception. So I think what's happening is I'm asking at taptapod at gmail.com, let us know what you think. My question is, are we just cyclical wrestling fans, and that it's okay, hey, they're in the cycle where we're turning on them now. We built them up, and we're turning on them now. And the only reason, by the way, we're doing that is because the WWE's on their hot streak. So the fans are going, yeah, they're not as good. And they're giving, and then they're moving back. It's a question. I don't know. I'm just asking.
I'm trying to think how much time there was between the original Star Wars movies, how much time there was between a lot of things in our lives where they time things to go along with human beings' interest cycles. Like when you would get tired of something and then it would go away, but by the time you forgot you were tired of it, it would come back and you all of a sudden wanted more.
I have a random theory about Star Wars.
What's that?
I feel like the generation that grew up on the original trilogy, the reason the second ones, even though, by the way, we all crapped on the first, like the Phantom Menace, right?
Yeah.
But there was still enough holdover from that generation that watched the first three. I think that it carried those second three into a wave of like, it was still our childhood. It was still our, whatever. I think there's too much of a gap between the first three and the last three.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, they lost a little of equity with the middle three. So I think there were some people that were already soured a little bit. By the way, for the record, I don't think the middle three are as bad as everybody says they are.
What middle three? What are you trying to say?
The Phantom Menace, the Attack of the Clones, and the Revenge of the Sith.
I thought those.
I didn't say they were good.
Were better than the last three.
Correct, but you know why? You had cycled out. By the time the last three came out, that's my theory of the first three and the last three that came out. The gap got too big.
Yeah, I mean,
and by the way, in the younger generation, I don't think they had zero equity in the first three. Does that make sense? Because they didn't see them live. They didn't see them growing. Their three are the first three. So their first three that they got to see as in that impressionable era were bad by their most people's standards. They said those weren't good. So by the time they didn't have the equity we had in the first three. So and then we didn't give a shit about the last three because the gap had gotten too far.
This is a 4, 5, and 6, Nick. This is the hardest thing for them to do is call them 4, 5, and 6 for me.
Yeah.
But I keep the timeline. That's my not screensaver, but the background on my computer is the timeline because I need to see where everything is all the time in Star Wars. But my attention span with just about anything but Star Wars fades. Like comic books and superhero characters comes and goes. Whatever I'm more interested in at the time. It's done that with wrestling in the past. There's been times where I've been super fascinated with wrestling. All through my life, there's been a marriage come up, goes away. Wrestling goes away, comes back. College, wrestling goes away, comes back.
Not in that order, but
wrestling. Well, yeah. But the wrestling's always been there, but the attention goes away and comes back. I think the only people that are able to maintain a constant relationship with wrestling, now since we've been podcasting, it's been a constant relationship because of the reinforcement involved. But by talking to wrestlers and meeting all these wrestling people we've met, and all our fans have been able to reinforce us, so there's no gap. But I think your average person who doesn't consume as much wrestling or meet as many wrestling people as we do, wane in interest. And you're right. It's new car smell, Nick. AEW has been new car smell. You tune off.
It smells like feet now. It's been around a while.
Or your ashtray's full, or you're kind of tired, and the WWE bus always rides you back and forth, and you don't have to get on. You don't have to worry about anything. You just get on the bus on Monday night and get off on Friday night.
WWE's the subway that they clean ever so often.
Yeah, the shows on Saturdays are fine. Look, I watched the NXT show last night. They read my mind. Do you want to get me ready for the Royal Rumble? They had a women's battle royal. Okay? Myron's always ready. Thank God, I love the Royal Rumble. I can't wait for the Royal Rumble. Okay, let's tease Myron with a battle royal. Myron loves battle royals. Myron wants Royal Rumble. They know how to feed me, Nick. They've got my little spoon of Gerber's, and they're sticking it in Myron's mouth because they know exactly what I want.
Yeah.
They're baby feeding me. AEW is a challenge. AEW was something new.
Yeah.
It was something different, and now I'm ready to go back on the teat. And give me this.
Speaking of being on the teat, I think that's a good segue into the next question.
What's that? The next question. Oh yes, Jeremy from Newton, Massachusetts. This is where they make all the fig products.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Massachusetts. I thought I'd dust the rose when I got my teeth in. You know, I can't whistle with these dentures now. That's a fucking horrible thing. So if I have to call the dog's deaf. So when I go to whistle, it's horrible. I take my teeth out to whistle with the dog. Are you a Cornette, Russo, or Bischoff guy? Now we have different opinions on this, but it's not for bad. I think we don't have them for bad reasons. I think we have them for opinion and exposure reasons. I don't think either one of us are Russo guys.
No.
And I don't.
By the way, hold on. I want to throw in here, by the way, everybody that I personally have met that personally met him and knows him, speaks highly of him.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
So that's the difference. I may say I'm not a Russo guy, but I don't shit on the guy either because he's anyway. But go ahead. We'll go to the
I've met Cornette.
Mm-hmm.
I bought stuff from Cornette. When you first started talking about podcasts, okay, I really had no basis in what podcasting was. So just getting into the popular wrestling media again, I found Cornette's podcast because it was at the time, one of the bigger ones. At Bruce Pritchard and Conrad was the only other mainstream wrestling podcast I can remember, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
Was there anything? So I started listening because Cornette was funny, and Cornette's also Cornette. You know, he's very opinionated. So I got to following him. He appeals to a lot of my opinions. He's creative. He's more liberal than a lot of people. You got to listen to Bischoff because Bischoff thinks a lot like you, right?
Business-wise, yeah, it's a business. Yeah, I like it for the business. Like, it's funny, on a weekly basis, he will remind you that he's not really interested as much in the ring stuff.
Yes.
As he is the business inside the wrestling business.
Yes.
And I agree 100%, by the way. Like, I can still sit there and watch and appreciate a good match. But that's, by the way, I'm also very character-driven as a fan. More so like bell-to-bell action. I can recognize what seems to be, that seems to be a pretty good match. But it's not always my cup of tea. And last time I checked, that's what I get to base my opinion on is my cup of tea. Yes. But I just like it from a business aspect, the approach, how he looks at things. Look, my take on Cornette is I get he's entertaining, but I think Cornette, to me, comes off very much as still a character and a gimmick and stuff. And I think people take some stuff he says too seriously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think of all the people, that have podcasts, I think Cornette's the one that would probably have a fan kill somebody, over something he said. He'd have do
you want me to be sarcastic here but not at the same time? He has built a business on shitting on AEW, catering to his fan base, when I think AEW does nothing. Like, they literally look at that model and they cater to their fan base just as much as, like, both of them, like, that's their model. Yeah. Cater to your fan base.
Yeah.
So
and we've met his attorney, Stephen Pignou, who's a phenomenally nice guy. I saw an interview with him the other day, and he said that he stays very busy, just defending Cornette. But he's also, he works for some other people in the wrestling business too. He had a blow up with Chris Jericho online the other day.
Yep.
So,
but here's my ultimate comeback to the answer to this question. We'll wrap this question up because I didn't think it required a whole lot of depth. The only thing that baffles me is that people put a lot of stock into something from a guy they've never met.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. Like, look, I've had a conversation. Yes, I have. I've had a brief conversation. It's brief. I'm not even kidding you. With Eric Bischoff. By the way, it wasn't about wrestling at all. So that's kind of the funny thing. I've never met, like, when I say meet people, like, I mean really meet them, have a conversation with them, and know them personally. Like, I do know people that do know Eric Bischoff personally, yes. But that's not, I don't know him I don't know him personally. So there's no way I'm putting stock in, like, I'm solely, like, I believe everything they say. There are moments when Eric says things that I'm like, he's probably working a little bit. Like, he's creating a little controversy, to get a little buzz.
I think Cornette sometimes, he goes a little
the problem is I think Corny's always in that mode. That's the difference, I think.
Well, that's the wrestling he's from.
So
that's
I do say stop taking it. Correct. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. But that's my take. It's to me, it's tough to put stock in.
They're enjoyable.
One person. Yeah. And that's unless, Myron, we're talking about we want to put stock in one person this week. Pro Wrestling Tees shirt of the week. I'm going to tell you want to put a lot of stock into somebody. Diana Michelle. Put a lot of stock in Diana Michelle.
Yes.
The
best there is, their best there was, the best there ever will be.
Yeah, and when in the state of Georgia, when it comes to ring announcing, she's the measuring stick. Like, at this point, anybody trying to be the best, that's who you need to knock off. So go over to ProWrestlingTees.com, go ahead to Diana Michelle, grab a shirt, get your order, support her, because she's out there hitting the towns, man. And I mean, literally, like, constantly hitting the towns. And because she works everywhere. She's not one of these people that are, like, picking sides and fighting. She's working for everybody, and she's, across the board.
I think she really people needs to be looking at her for stuff in WWE, AEW, she's Impact, TNA. She really needs to be, and she works other stuff too. She works in bigger things besides just wrestling. So keep your eye on her. She needs to be in people's brains for bigger opportunities. She's that would hate to lose her, but she's that damn good.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so Diana Michelle, ProWrestlingTees.com. Pick up a shirt of two of ours while you're there as well. Bulk order up. Save you some money on the shipping. That's always my approach. Amen. Don't buy just one, buy multiple. So, all right, man. What else you got?
Brandon from Gastonia, North Carolina. I think we passed through there one time. Do you think TNA signing Nic Nemeth was good for both parties? And I think we both agree 100% on this, Nick. Yes.
I do.
Yes.
We'll preface with, I think he was ready to kind of get a change of scenery. It was time for him to, like, step out for a minute. He's made tons of money with WWE. He's got a lot of other things he wants to do and does do. And I think the TNA schedule works very well for him to work indies, work comedy stuff that he wants to do, maybe get into movies. I don't know. Because here's the thing. Even though people are like, yeah, but he's not with WWE anymore. Your whole theory on the movie things, he's been on TV enough in WWE. He's still got the, what's that? What do they call it? The Q rating. He's still got that, like, people know who he is because of his time there. Mm-hmm. From a business standpoint, I think it shows that TNA during this rebranding thing, they are willing to invest, bring in some names and bring in some talents, because everybody, it kind of, look, Trinity, I think, rebuilt herself there. Yeah. But I think she was at a lower point than where she is now because she has rebuilt herself there. They had become known as the place to, like, grab somebody who's, like, in between, or they had come off, they were kind of like, but I think
sober up.
I just think it's a good place for them to put out there, like, hey, we're going to be players. We're going to invest some money, and maybe they can,
I like them. I love what they're doing. I love the not stadium show. What do they call it? The
studio show?
Studio wrestling type thing where they shoot in that room like that. I think the only difference with them and AEW is AEW shoots in front of that live crowd. If AEW went to something like that, I think they would be in a serious TNA would be serious competition for them.
Could be. Never know. Yeah.
That's the only difference I can see.
I think that it also, by the way, creates new matches.
Yes.
Like, so it's going to create a fresh set of opponents for a lot of guys across there. And by the way, he's going to make a lot of guys look like $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the ultimate tool why it benefits TNA. He's going to take a lot of guys that were here and he's going to get in a match with them and watch their stock rise because he's going to make them look like $1 million.
Oh, he's a shine machine, man. He is a shine machine.
Yeah.
And dude, they've done so much good stuff that bringing him in is just magic.
Yeah.
I mean, just magic. And the guy has so much good going on for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing so much in his outside of the wrestling ring. I got to give him some credit. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of ties into the next question. I mean, we're kind of spilling over into our next question here. So I guess go ahead and ask that, and we can kind of loop it all in
Matt from Somerville, South Carolina. Never been there. With all the changes in the recent pay-per-view, do you think TNA has a chance of making a comeback? I don't think they're making a comeback. I think they are on. I think they're back. Yeah. I think they're getting stronger every day, Matt. The brand changing was cool because I like a 3-letter wrestling name. Okay,
You said that, and literally, when I won't lie to you, when you first said that, I kind of chuckled at it and kind of like, really? Like then I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of always been the case.
Sticks in your head when you got 3 letters, unless you've got like a really catchy name like Anarchy, which is, you know, that's a catchy name. But Impact was good, but 3 letters, man, that sticks. WWE, AEW.
Is it the concept of it just seems to be that way? Because guess what? In major sports, it's NFL, it's NBA, it's MLB, it's NHL. Like the 3-letter, like it makes it. Does the 3-letter try to like make you feel like it's a bigger product or something?
NWA. What do you want to see? Some TNA?
I want to
turn on television. You want to look at some TNA?
Yeah, but look, the rebrand I think is a good. It garnered a lot of attention. A lot of people started paying attention. They brought in Nemeth. They put the belt on Moose. They took it off of Shelley. They've got young talent out like crazy there. I mean,
our boy Alan Angels. I mean,
Alan Angels.
That guy is doing terrific. Love that kid.
Yeah.
Look at it. They've got that X division where if you got a smaller wrestler or a wrestler that does things different besides being a big brute, you got plenty of a job for him. You got a job for this guy. You got a job for that guy. That Alexander Hammerstone, man, MLW is letting diamonds just drop. Didn't have Cruel. Now they don't have Hammerstone. Weren't they losing that Fatu guy also?
I heard tale that I don't even think they're keeping people under contract anymore.
Fumble.
No, I just think that's just where they are from a business standpoint at this point. I think that's structurally where they are. But, you know, it is what it is.
Man, they need to sign these big dogs. We need to see Cruel on television every week. We need to see Hammerstone on television every week. And you said they partnered with AAA. Holy shit.
It's just a growth opportunity for them. I think that's the big plus, is then they can get some exposure in Mexico and then bring in talents from Mexico, from AAA.
So you want your look at the Atlanta market for independent wrestling. You know, the only promotion that really draws in Atlanta, MLA, Lucha Lucha Atlanta, 3 letters. They draw 1,000 people at a show, twice what the biggest show in the area draws, because of the Latino audience. So if you get Latino wrestling fans are huge wrestling fans. If you get more Latino wrestling, WWE's trying to do it now.
I think Mucha Lucha draws because it's an event.
Yes.
It's a real event.
Yeah.
We've gone to a couple of them, and it's a real event. It's not just wrestling, in my opinion.
It more of them.
Yeah.
It's a community event.
Again, coming back, like all of these changes they're making, I think, look, we've joked about it for months at this point, where we've said, like, now we can officially go back to TNA is the best wrestling that not a lot of people are watching, and we need to change that. It needs to be fixed. You know, look, I know you like the studio environment. I hope they go to a little bit bigger buildings, and, you know, now look, they got to fill them. Yeah. I'm being fair, but I do like that growth, you know, potential. Do some tapings and some bigger events, because look, if they can go into buildings and they can start drawing 2,000 to 3,000 like for pretty consistently, that's a challenge. But if they can, we joked about this off air. I think they become the competition with AEW, and not AEW's not the competition with WWE, because we've already joked about how that's not what they do anyway. But they need to look over their shoulder, because if they are getting stale and TNA gets hot, that competition could be coming up from behind them, and they need to worry about less at that one out in front of them.
Yeah, and if I was NWA, the first thing I would want to do is start talking to TNA about, could our championship be like defended on your show? Could we have a crossover, an invasion angle? God, I love invasion angles.
I agree. Yeah, they could be fun. They could be fun for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But look, who knows? But look, that's all of the questions this week. But make sure you keep sending those in. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Sign up there. But look, if you're also, we always tell you, if you're on our YouTube channel, obviously you get the show early and off. But if you're a Patreon member, you can also send your questions in through patreon.com/tappedoutpod. But if you are a YouTube person, make sure you're liking, subscribing, turning your notifications on. And then, of course, like I said, you can become a member there as well. But we're fully aware, look, everybody's not a video watcher. Like, we joke about it on a regular basis. Sometimes you just can't handle all, watching this, right? You got to just listen to our voices. That, of course, is on every podcast platform there is, basically, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartMedia, Amazon Music. Pretty, like I said, anywhere and everywhere. We are on every single podcast platform, it seems. So make sure you're checking us out over there, subscribing, and make sure you give us a 5-star rating and review if you feel so inclined. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that as well. But keep those questions coming in. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Like I said, we're going to stay consistent about trying to do one of these once a month, twice, every so often, depending on how quick the mailbag fills up. But look, we also encourage you, please support our sponsors, whether it is jmartinandcompany.com, pressure washing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, all that good stuff, residential and commercial, by the way, so not just residential. So again, jmartinandcompany.com, check them out either on their website or on Facebook, and make sure you can just shoot them a DM and try to get something set up. That's the way I always do mine. I think it's the easiest way. And then, of course, if you want to do a podcast, every single week we're telling you, Libsyn.com, go there, sign up, use the promo code TAPPED, and you can get up to 2 months for free. It's the only place we would ever recommend is using as a podcast server. We've been with them since day one, except for that little hiccup there in the middle. We wouldn't tell you to go anywhere else. Again, Libsyn.com, promo code TAPPED.
Amen.
Anything else, Myron? What you got?
No, man, I'm trying to put together my plans for this weekend. I'm pretty sure I'm going to Southern Fried. It's just a transportation issue. I should be able to get somebody to go with me. And then we got talking about going to Action Friday night too. So
yeah, I actually need to reach out. I need to reach out to Matt Griffin. I saw a post. There were only like 10 tickets left.
Oh wow!
So I'm gonna have to.
That last show they had at the brewery was fire. Was absolute fire.
So
great big weekend in Georgia wrestling this weekend, next weekend. So keep your eyes open.
Make sure you're checking out all of your shows, whether it's Action, Southern Fried. I will not be at Action. We had a death in the family, so Saturday night I'll be tied up. I cannot make a Southern Fried. What I meant.
Gary's got a big MMA show on the 27th.
That's next week, 27th.
Yeah.
That's not,
yeah.
And Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
going to be going on.
My favorite pay-per-view of the year.
Yep, I agree. We know what we'll be covering next week a little bit. There's a preview heading into that. But we'll see where we make it out this weekend. But look, I can't tell you enough, right? We always tell you, if you're looking for Georgia wrestling, check out the Rob Rod Report. He's going to tell you where all of the shows are, and it's over on YouTube. It's the Rob Rod Report. Please subscribe, just because then you'll know every single week where you could head. He does cover Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. So, but we always tell you, look, because a lot of people are just like, where do we go? Where do we go? Find a show. We have some favorites, and we do like to go, whatever. But between, shows like, we hit Southern Fried, Southern Honor, Anarchy when they're running. Southern States now is going to be running close to us, so we can catch those. Action's going to be running. Disruptor's returning here in Buford, so they'll be super close. But then we got Viral. You got IWE down on that corridor. Wrestle America and some of the Lariato down on the southern side. Up in the north, you've got SCA, SWA, OSWA. I mean, that's on and on and on. UWF up in Colbert. Yep. Tons of promotions. Find them. Follow them on social media so that way you're seeing the posters when they're putting out the advertisements, and make sure just support an indie show near you. That's all.
Amen to that. That's where you see Wolverton. Brett Wolverton was posting just the other day. He posted the Anarchy show where it had a guy that was now on the main stuff, and he posted another show that had MJF on it. So you're going to get to see people that are going to go on and be your big time television wrestlers.
Yeah, Southern Honor it was funny, shared a memory recently where they had Cody Vance versus Austin Theory in a match.
Yep.
What have those guys done since then, right? Like,
yeah.
One went to AEW, and the other, of course, beat John Cena.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the stars of tomorrow are stars today in your local promotions. Go check them out and be supportive. But that's all I've got, man. You got anything else before we get out of here?
Else. Keep supporting your independent wrestling, folks. Love y'all.
Yep. What's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
Time to tap out.